Topic today is documentaries, Andrew. You ever seen a documentary? You ever thought maybe you want to learn something while you're sitting on your ass watching TV?
Are we
Not when
including
you talk to me like that.
dramatized historical dramas? Or are we including them? Or do they count? Or is that a no-no?
Yeah, anything that is an
Based on
informative
true story.
film of something that has happened.
Got you, but it doesn't have to have some guy who's like, obvious his wife left him and he hasn't slept in 10 weeks and he's like, the thing about the pyramids is...
No, it does not
Have y'all
have to
seen-
include that. Like, I
y'all
personally
s-
consider They Shall Not Grow Old. I consider that a
Yeah.
documentary.
Have y'all seen like the documentary where it's a bunch of Netflix documentaries, like a parody of all of them?
No,
Conk on Earth.
Oh, I love
Yes.
Conk on Earth.
that's the best documentary.
Yeah, I love
Hold
Conk
on.
on Earth, dude.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
He's about to go watch Conk on Earth in its entirety.
Yeah.
Much like Belgium techno anthem, Pump Up the Jam.
Michael, you said you've been big into documentaries recently. What all have you watched?
I'm trying to I wish I could have a 2024 wrapped thing. 'Cause I'm trying to remember the names of all of these, but me and Maggie just like to watch documentaries together. I need to try to think because the only one I can think of off the top of my head is the Menendez brothers thing. I haven't finished it yet. Oh, dude, fucking Chimp Crazy. Have y'all watched that shit?
I've heard that it's like Tiger King, but for monkeys.
Dude, fuck Tiger King, all right? Chimp Crazy is insane.
I'm just telling you what I've heard, okay, man? I'm
No,
sorry.
I know. I'm like, you're right. That's what people have said, and my response to that sentiment is like, who gives a fuck about Tiger King? You know, that shit is boring and stupid compared
Also,
to
big cats are just like low-key some of the most boring creatures.
yes. And the people that are into them think that they're like Tarzan, but they're actually just basically substitute teachers. You should be rolling. Are you recording right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So, Tiger King, I couldn't even sit through it because, like, immediately it was all about, like, some, like, gay love triangle or something. And I don't know, I think the most scandalous thing about that show is that, like, maybe Mr. Tiger King, whatever the heck his name is, Joe Exotic, whatever, like, admitted to jerking off the tigers or some weird shit like that, which is, you know, pretty bad. But I think in the show they don't really like focus on that, and they focus more on the like there's a murder. I don't know. There's some lady with a missing husband or some shit.
Yeah. Harold.
Chimp Crazy though is like fucking wild, and it's the director who made Tiger King, and so he's like everybody, all these exotic animal freaks. They know who I am now. Like I'm infamous in their circles, so I can't.
Was he
get
like
close to them.
sought out by chimp enthusiasts to do a documentary on them, or did he find
No,
just another niche ass group of animal freaks?
Yes, so the guy who did the chimp or both of those documentaries, he like grew up in either in like circus or exotic animals or animal rescue, but in the like more legit side of things.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I have like a history of this, so I understand this world. That's why he did Tiger King. But then the Chimp Crazy one, he was like, dang, like these people are like really kind of cloistered and like they keep to themselves. And that I'm already like a persona non grata for like exotic stuff. So let me get a third party to pose as the fake director and go in there and like get close to these people. And this guy's also like been involved in the exotic animals world, and it has like a felony for trafficking exotic animals or some shit when he was younger. But anyway, the whole thing is like there's there are chimps in the U.S. still, even though I think there's laws against like breeding chimps now. There's chimps in the U.S. still that are old because back in like the 70s, this one woman brought over chimps and like started raising them and breeding them like rabbits and making a lot of money and like selling them chimp babies, and all these exotic animal people were,
That
accounting
woman,
to make
believe
money.
it or not, Hillary Clinton.
She looks like but like back in like the 80s and stuff, there was chimps in all these movies. I mean, you guys remember when we were kids and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was all these
There's a
90s,
monkey
early 2000s
action movie.
movies. Yeah, action movies
Even
with
like Grimm.
monkeys.
Just the TV show of the 90s was like, fuck it, throw in a monkey.
And then there's a bunch of movies where it's like the main character is some kind of ape and he has like a hat or some shit, like throws some
Yeah.
checks in, or there's a bunch of them.
Paddington, but with a chimp.
And it doesn't happen anymore because just they realized, oh, these chimps are not like cool with this or whatever. It fucks them up.
I
Like,
hate
gives them diabetes.
to quote the nostalgia critic, but he has reviewed like every single one of those old chimp movies where there's just a chimp as the main character.
Yeah.
And in every single one of them, he starts his video off by, just saying like, hey, I'm the nostalgia critic. And then he immediately screams, monkeys aren't fucking funny. And yeah, they're not. Nobody should have ever made chimp movies where a chimp is the main fucking character.
No, don't get me wrong. Like, one thing, I love every animal on the planet. I just believe we are meant to protect God's creation and love them. I think monkeys are cool. I think observing them is perfectly fine. But like fucking shipping them halfway across the world and putting them in an urban setting where they just have to be on camera and get laughed at every day, like, it's not cool.
And that's the thing. Like the people in this documentary that are like have been breeding monkeys for decades, they get older and they're already insane, which is why they have this exotic animal thing in the first place.
Right.
And so then they're just like your average like abusive household, but it's with a monkey. And the thing about fucking monkeys is they can like rip a door off a car and like turn you into blood mist with one strike. Like it's not like, oh, they're just gonna go like be an alcoholic. Like, no, they'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And not just kill you, but kill you in a way that like your family can't confirm that it's your body.
Yeah. Like so the famous case of the woman getting her face ripped off?
Yeah, absolutely.
They talk about that in the movie because she's, of course, like she got the monkey from this other person in the web of monkey secrecy. And like that woman, she grew up, she like raised the monkey as if it was one of her kids. And then it got old and fat because they always feed these fucking things like Burger King or whatever. And Dr. Pepper, literally, like they're giving them soda and fast food and candy. And then the husband dies and the monkey like literally apes out and rips someone's face off, starts to like it escapes, and then a cop shows up and the cop literally empties his gun into this thing. It rips the door off of his patrol car and then like runs back into the house and bleeds out on the bed. Like it had even though he pumped it full of lead, it like still had
enough to put the fucking fear of God in him before it went and died.
It ripped the door off his car, and like that woman got her face ripped off. She didn't die. She was just living. I think she's still alive with that deformity. And then the mom.
Before we move further into this, so the trigger for this ape going, with, for lack of better words, ape shit, was the husband dying.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly. It was like the husband died, and then the monkey was like sleeping in the bed with the wife and stuff, like because they. Hold on, guys. 1 second.
It's insanely bizarre to me that the death of kind of like an owner to these animals can incite such an emotional reaction out of them.
Yeah, they get like really connected to these people because they're literally like the baby monkeys. They raise them,
Yeah.
they put them in overalls, whatever, take them to McDonald's, and then every one of these stories, it's the same. Like the monkey got big, and then it got mad, and they stopped taking it into town. People stopped seeing this family. Then the family starts getting abused by the monkey, literally, because it's strong enough to do whatever it wants. So this woman that had that one monkey that ripped the woman's face off, she was covered in bruises, like she had an abusive husband, except it was just her chimp was beating the fuck out of her.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, and if a chimp wanted to kill you, it just would. So the chimp was literally beating her, like just to hurt her and get what he wanted or something.
Imagine you're just a wife sitting there cleaning the kitchen. You hear the door swing open wildly, and you look over, and your fucking monkey's just dropped a bottle of bourbon on the ground, and he just comes in and is like, "Why don't I smell dinner? Fuck."
His white tank top is all stained.
Yeah.
Also, like the main.
Thomas, I think you're about to make monkeys funny for me.
The main lady that like bred all the monkeys, she has like a crony that kind of becomes the main focus of the documentary, and she's crazy. And like it shows tons of footage of her literally like feeding them Kool-Aid, soda, candy, McDonald's, all kinds of crap, spraying whipped cream into their mouth through the bars. And these monkeys literally like will reach through the bar and like, break someone's wrist who's trying to feed them and shit because they're just abused and in cages. Just a bad, all around terrible situation. Then PETA gets involved. They try to take away the monkeys. She hides one and tells everyone it died, but it's not dead. And she moves away, creates a secret bunker for the monkey, and is like, all right, time to hide this monkey so I can keep him forever.
I mean, there's definitely like some sort of mental illness at play because you can't have so much of a disconnect that you don't realize, like, even if you do keep it for now, like, it's not forever. It's not worth building a bunker over. Like, you might love the things that you're doing with this creature, but like ultimately the creature's not happy with you if it's beating the fuck out of you.
Yeah, well, they don't, these people don't, they're like really sick in the head, like emotionally disturbed people who think the monkey is like their kid, and all of them will out loud say and admit we love them because it's like a kid that doesn't grow up, and they say shit like, I love this monkey more than I love my own children.
That's insane.
I think that exotic pet owning is definitely some sort of cult, like weird cult shit.
They all know each other.
Exotic to some degree is, in my opinion, acceptable. Like if you want an African gray parrot, sure, that's reasonable. You could take care of that.
One thing.
Yeah, but like, dude, a fucking like a single cat, you don't need that. A fucking ocelot, you don't need that.
Or if you just like, oh yeah, I have a giraffe on my ranch.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
And especially, it's not always like predatory creatures that people are drawn to. It's never like, yeah, dude, this is my African aardvark. It's like, yeah, that's my jungle cat.
Yeah, that's my fucking 600-pound, 8-foot jaguar.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all like my pet grizzly bear? I got her last year. Like, no, dude, get that out of your fucking house.
Yeah. What is this fucking thing doing inside at the dinner table?
People do that same shit.
One pulse swipe. Yeah.
People will be like, oh, I want my pig to live indoors with me.
Ignoring all of the stereotypes about pigs.
That they shit and fart and are covered in mud and stink lines are coming off of them all the time.
Yeah. Pigpen from Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Which y'all know me. Y'all know much of the way that I was reared and grew up. The stereotypes are just true. Pigs are just kind of fucking nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does the documentary Chimp Crazy cover the incident of being burned to the ground after?
No, they don't mention that. I think that
Ooh.
that was happening kind of around the same time that they were filming.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
they didn't really. Yeah.
That's got to get cut.
No, he's talking about Cedo the chimp.
Yeah.
No, but for real, speaking about Cedo, Chris, we've talked about Cedo the chimp before, right?
We talked about Cedo for a little bit. I don't really remember much of the context.
Okay.
Because here lately I've been doing research on Tilikum, the orca.
Hmm.
The floppy finned orca.
He was the poster boy of SeaWorld. Shamu's not a real whale. So they had a bunch of orcas that they were like crossbreeding, because orcas could either be like an easier to domesticate, like none of them can be domesticated, but they could be easier to train, or they could be just straight up fucking wild orcas. And Tilikum was the offspring of a wild orca and a more domesticated orca, which meant he got all of the intelligence from the domestic side, but all of the fucking voraciousness from the wild side. And he's the one who wound up killing that bitch in Austin. Or San Antonio, not Austin.
Did he?
And it was like his fourth trainer he killed. He was a murderer.
Did he have a limp dorsal fin?
Yeah.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah.
Which was like a sign of abuse and malnutrition and shit.
Yeah. I remember a
They
long
literally-
time ago I watched a documentary called Blackfish that was about him or about SeaWorld and all that. That was a great documentary.
It's about SeaWorld. It's super good, and it covers like the entire genealogy of these orcas, which is like on one hand super fascinating, and on the other hand super fucking saddening.
That's the one that like made SeaWorld basically anathema. Like people are like, no, fuck SeaWorld. We hate SeaWorld because of Blackfish.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. I remember when it came out, and like my aunt took me to SeaWorld for my 8th birthday, and when I was there, SeaWorld was cool. I went and saw the like orca show and everything, and sat in the splash zone, did the whole 9 yards, and it was really cool to interact. She got me VIP passes, so we got to go do all the backstage shit. And then I watched that documentary, and I was like, oh fuck, like that thing was abused as fuck. Like I went and seen Tilikum. No, it might not have been Tilikum. I don't remember which one it was. And like watched the person who would eventually just fucking have to leave everything behind to not get killed by this orca. You just put on a fucking dog and pony show in front of us.
Yeah. Damn.
It looks like maybe either they tried to do like dentistry on these things or try to make them like less dangerous, or maybe it just happened like because of their
Talk about their mouths.
Yeah, their fucking teeth, dude, are like the front like row of teeth is like filed down to the base, so it's just like it looks like a ring because like the hollow inside part of the tooth is exposed.
Orcas are fucking
sucks.
scary.
Yeah, they really are. They're the ones that if you're out in the water like in a kayak, they'll just be like, a snack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if they don't really like the taste of humans, apparently. They just like to kill humans. Like, it's fun for them.
Oh, this happened from them biting the like the cage that they live in.
Yeah, dude.
Like
They
the
are
steel gate in their enclosure.
much like monkeys. They are far too intelligent to be domesticated for entertainment.
Yeah. Oof.
Like, most fish, sure, but like leave dolphins and orcas like way the fuck alone. Also octopi, like just they know what's going on and it doesn't seem morally right.
Yeah, I've seen videos of on YouTube of like an octopus that like survived having like his arms ripped off and shit, and he just has like insane PTSD and is afraid of everything. Like
This is one of the documentaries I was going to bring up. Is there's one called My Octopus Teacher, which first of all sounds like a tentacle porn anime.
yeah, it really does.
But secondly, it's just about a guy that had an octopus and he's a fucking piece of shit and just mistreats the hell out of it. It's not a very good documentary.
He looks like a pervert.
It's very poorly done.
Is it like The Deep when he
Yeah.
You know?
He's basically using the octopus as a fleshlight. Yeah.
Wait. Did this actually happen, or are we talking about The Deep?
We're talking
The
about
Deep.
the deep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
I don't know, probably the octopus guy in the documentary. He probably did it too, but they just couldn't find the
did you know
receipts.
he was probably watching Octopus Porn, like, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Who, The Deep or the guy on the documentary?
Both.
Man, that scene in The Boys where the Deep is trying to bust that dolphin out of fucking SeaWorld or whatever it is always gonna be.
It was a whale.
It was a whale.
Wasn't it? No, it was a dolphin. It was a dolphin because he had it in
Yeah.
van.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was a beluga whale for some reason.
Doesn't the dolphin like die in the van or some
Yeah,
shit?
dude.
Yeah, he hits
wrecks
he
and it
hits the
gets
brakes and it gets launched out of the windshield and run over
Yeah.
by a semi. It's fucking terrible.
That show is something else.
Stupid.
I remember the first time I watched the beginning of that and you just see Huey's girlfriend getting turned to mist. I was like,
That's my favorite documentary.
I cannot believe that this is a TV show that exists right
Yeah.
now.
Hey, is there a lot of background noise on my mic right now?
Very little.
Not really.
There's
Not
a
really.
crying baby and a vacuum and some extended family talking and drinking in the kitchen, so it sounds like I'm in a Mexican household.
My abuelita is working while Grandpa and all my 54 cousins are getting hammered.
Yeah,
But we're all drinking Paloma, so it's okay.
dude.
Oh, I love a
I went
Paloma.
to
Me fucking too.
Kroger the other day, and a bunch of the beer was on sale. They had 24 packs of Yingling for like $20.
Dude, that's such a steal.
It's a steal. I had to grab one.
That's like 78
Christmas
cents a
in-
beer.
This past year, I watched a bunch of kind of like true crimey, kinds
Yeah.
of documentaries. I'm trying to remember.
Because you're living with Maggie.
Yeah, she likes that stuff. I mean, I like
Yeah.
this stuff too. I like ones about like cults and stuff. I watched one last year. Maybe it was 2023 too when we watched it, but it was like about Rajneeshpuram, which was this like cult village in Oregon in the like 70s and 80s.
And it was
And
called
maybe the early
Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah, so like Rajneesh is the guy. He has like one of those long, like weird, Indian, like Hindu mystic
Yeah.
names or whatever. Rajneesh Bhagwan Shri or some shit like that. And he had they call him an ashram in India. An ashram is just like basically a religious compound. So they're all pretty much mini cults. India is one of those like insane religious landscapes where there's just crazy
cult on
shit
every
happening.
corner.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Oh man, it's the 70s. All these white people are coming from like Europe, England, Canada, America, whatever. People coming from all over the world, like rich, white people with nothing to do, and they're like entering my religious sect." And he like very quickly turned it into like, "Okay, you must have sex with me to achieve enlightenment," like pretty much immediately, because it's like all these hot young 70s broads from
Man.
Sweden or whatever.
I've thought about, first of all, just how horny any cult leader is. Secondly,
But also-
I've read several books and read quite a bit online about how horny Japanese cult leaders are. I never even
Dude.
considered Indian cult
Oh,
leaders.
yeah, dude.
That's like a
Dude.
level of
Show me
horny.
your
that-
bobs.
Show Bobs, I want to put my butt in your butt.
But he literally like he immediately when they all showed up was like, all right, yeah, it's a sex thing now. We're all just gonna be naked all the time, whatever. And they like treated him like a god, and he ended up getting, the Indian government was like, we don't like what you're doing, I don't know, tax evasion or some shit. So he went to Oregon, and then there was just this whole campaign that lasted like over a decade of like building this massive compound in the middle of like, not like coastal Oregon, like middle of nowhere Idaho, Oregon, and
Just woods and mountains, baby.
yeah, there was like a village nearby with like 20 people, and they'd all been living there for generations, and just a bunch of like boring, normal white people with like ranches, and you know, I, I worked at the post office, whatever,
And then all of a sudden, Rajneesh the Curry Lord and his 30 naked white women show up.
Literally, he like floods this area with tons of people. They buy a bunch of land, build a compound, and then for years they're like they go on this crazy political campaign of trying to influence local elections, just like flooding the population, turning elections in their favor to be like, striking down local laws, changing ordinance, sitting on the board, all that kind of stuff to just overwhelm this town nearby with their own influence. And then all these normal people are like, help, we don't know what to do. And this documentary is actually like really good. The name of it, give me one second. Wild Wild Country. It's so good because a lot of these people are still alive. And he had a second in command Indian woman who he basically groomed when she was a kid. And she's like run with him this whole time. She ends up being like the businesswoman in charge of everything while she's like the Darth Vader and he's like the Palpatine basically. And she ends up like doing all this like, okay, we're gonna inject poison into these people who are trying to like gain influence within our cult because like these people flew in from Europe and became friends with him and are trying to influence him. She literally like got somebody to go like poison attack these people, and then she escaped to Germany with a group of her like closest inner circle, and they were on the run from like the feds are like trying to hunt her down, and it all like ends in big, like the feds are trying to track him down and extradite him, and they can't find where he's going. It's crazy. It's like insane. There's a bunch of footage from this, and it's all just like 70s, naked hippies in a trance. In order to sway that local election, they did this huge campaign where they went all around the country and invited street people, just hobos basically, and like drug addicts and people who just got out of prison, whatever, invited, dozens of thousands or whatever of these street people to come move to this little cult compound so that they could get their population up. And then when the street people showed up and were like not, on the same page as this cult, like they didn't have the same religious, fervor, and they were just like, "Oh, we just want to party and have sex and whatever, and like get all this free food." Then they gave them a bunch of free beer and laced it with sedatives to keep all these hobos, like thousands of hobos,
holy shit,
like docile, so they could like make them do whatever they wanted. It's insane, and this all happened in America in like the 80s, and
That's some Far Cry 5 type shit.
Yeah, for real.
The thing with cults is like there's been so fucking many of them that I've never even heard of that one, but that's absolutely batshit insane. And in 10 years, I'll fucking hear about, oh, hey, did you hear about the Akamoto cult that was in Indiana where like 70,000 people killed themselves, or, just something crazy like that?
Thomas, if you haven't heard of this before, you should definitely research Shinrikyo.
Oh, yeah.
I have read a book about him called
Dude.
Cult X. It's very good.
Well, wait, real quick. I just remembered in the I think they showed this in the movie, but this is a clip that I used to see all the time online. You know, it's just a meme basically being shared. It was a clip of this Rajneesh guy saying, "It's like a greater." You know, he would like come out and give like these sermons or whatever, and it's like a long talk, and he's talking all about America and politics, whatever. But he says like, "Government by the retarded, of the retarded, for the retarded," and everybody laughs. And I used to see that clip all the time.
Wait. That's Rajneesh?
Yeah, that's it. You know what he looks like,
Dude, no freaking
Yeah.
way. Yeah, by the people, for the people, but the people are retarded.
And like a lot of cults, like Nexium kind of did this at the time when not everyone knew, like, oh, this is like a bad thing, or this guy represents some kind of like, evil entity over here. I think he was kind of like a semi-famous, like people wanted him to come speak. Maybe I can't remember exactly, but he was like highly
I'm about
regarded.
to send it to the Discord.
But it's just so funny. He's like, America is government by the people, and the people are retarded. It was crazy too because in the show they kind of show you how a lot of these people that went and joined his cult were like engineers and lawyers and all these people that had skills and knowledge and experience, and they really like they mustered a lot of manpower and got shit done in terms of construction and planning and all these little social programs and shit. They were self-sustained.
Of course, they always have to be communist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michael, give me your top documentary recommendation.
Honestly, there's a like top of all time documentaries.
Top one just on your head right now.
Oh shit.
You've named two, Chimp Crazy and Rajesh Param or whatever. Which
Yeah.
one of those two are you
Out
putting
of
at the
those
top?
two, I gotta say Chimp Crazy because it's so absurd. It's like it's an experience.
If you were to equate Chimp Crazy to a meaty dish, what would it be?
I'm gonna have to go bushmeat.
What the hell is bushmeat?
It's like in Africa when they just eat random exotic wild animals, and oftentimes it is monkey.
Oh, very good. So it's a terrible documentary?
No, but
Its level of how good and entertaining it is.
oh man, well, honestly, bushmeat because it probably tastes really good, but it gives you a fucking worm after you're done.
Yeah. All right, Chris, what's your top documentary recommendation?
So the thing about me is I watch a lot of shows that are based on true stories. Fucking hell. But I don't particularly watch a lot of documentaries. I watch shit that's like my number one recommendation would be I think it's called We Own This City. It has John Bernthal as the lead. It's based on a true story. It's about police brutality in 2018 in the Northeast, in Baltimore specifically. After all of the riots that had occurred and everything, police brutality was at an all-time high. He's a cop who's in charge of a division that goes out and seeks for illegal weapons, essentially. And they essentially just start robbing people. And they beat people on the streets, and they're in league with criminals, and they'll get these criminals to give them info on where these people who have all this drug money are, so they'll bust them and take like 20% of the drug money off the top just for themselves in cash.
It's
And
in
claim that they
Baltimore.
only had it's in Baltimore. It's
Sounds about
insane.
right.
Insanely good TV show, but it's all based on true story. But of course, anytime you dramatize, you lose some facts and you gain some fluff. So I can't think of any like just straight up documentary off the top of my head. Most of what I've watched that's based on a true story is dramatized in some way, like the Chernobyl HBO show, full of a lot of really good, really solid
that
information.
counts. I mean, that's
Does
basically
it?
a documentary. Yeah.
I'll count it. Yeah.
But see, like if I'm counting that, then it's like it's competing with We Own the City and Band of Brothers.
I don't know, man. Chernobyl's pretty fucking good.
Chernobyl is super fucking good, and it's one of those that like anytime someone's like, I want to watch something but I don't know what I want to watch, I'm like, have you seen Chernobyl? Like it's one of the first things that I go to. So I guess I would put it at the top of my list. It is incredibly scary. For most of my life I was for the most part ignorant to what radiation does to a human.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That was
growing up,
Chernobyl was also my first time like truly grasping what radiation can do to you, and it just scares me so fucking bad.
'cause I grew up out in the fucking woods. Like radiation was shit that happened in Russia, not in Mississippi. So I didn't give a fuck about it. And then I watched Chernobyl, and I was like, no.
You know, they used
way.
to dump, like, or do nuclear tests in not only two places in Mississippi, out on Horn Island, and also up kind of near Hattiesburg. There's like salt mines, and they're like, yeah, the salt mines will contain the radioactive fallout, so we're just gonna blow up some nuclear weapons down here, or like dispose of them or some shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they tested them underground near like Laurel Hattiesburg area, and that area still, I think, has the biggest average-sized cockroach. Like
Also, the biggest
size of a
average-sized
cockroach.
cock.
Yeah. Mine definitely wasn't surgically enhanced in any way when I was 16. But yeah.
So,
I
Chris,
have
you go in
another one I want
Chernobyl?
to talk about. I do have one more I want to talk about. I'm trying to find it right now. It's on HBO. It's about Pharma Purdue and all the shit that they did with OxyContin. It's a dramatization of the true story.
Doesn't it have Michael Keaton in it?
I think so. Hold up, I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick.
Your favorite documentary isn't Tulsa King with
Painkiller.
Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah, true story. It's called Painkiller.
Painkiller.
Right.
That's it. That one is so fucking good. In terms of a real documentary, there's another one that's adjacent to it about the same shit, but like it's based in New Orleans about this guy who like lived in the 9th Ward, and his son got hooked on Oxy and got killed in a drug deal gone bad. And of course it's the 9th Ward, so like none of the cops really gave a shit and nobody was really trying anything. And this father, out of pure love for his son, spent multiple years trying to figure out what happened in the most dangerous part of Louisiana by far, where people die for no reason, much less trying to catch someone in a crime that could put them in prison for life. And he wound up actually finding the guy, and I think it's a beautiful story about perseverance and the human spirit when it comes to love. But I watched them two back to back. Like I watched the show over the course of a week, and my mind was so messed up behind it that I watched a documentary to get more out of it and to kind of sit in that space for a little bit longer. And dude, it had me messed up for a couple months. Like I didn't want to interact with people for a little while because I was just thinking about both of those shows and the insane amount of grip that a vice could have on a human being.
Yeah, especially when it's like chemically manufactured to never let you go on purpose, so that you'll be a customer for life.
Yeah, absolutely. And dude, the repercussions that came out of that were not great enough for Pharma Purdue at all. But yeah, I would say Chernobyl is my #1 documentary. And if I had to equate it to a meaty dish, it would be Salisbury steak from Fallout. That feels appropriate.
Yeah, it has some rads off of it.
Yeah, a good 6 rads. But if you have the right perk, you heal from it. You go from the rads.
I love in that show where they're just like, just drink a shit ton of vodka. Like, technically, I think it does help with the radiation or whatever, but it's just, of course, that's the Russian answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chernobyl also has the worst joke about the Soviet Union ever. So, like, what consumes 16,000 kilowatts of power per hour and cuts an apple into 3 slices? A Soviet machine designed to cut an apple into 4 slices. And, like, you could see that some of the extras thought that was the worst fucking improv joke about the Soviet Union in that scene, where they're, like, forcing themselves to laugh. But no, I genuinely love that show.
Also, very overlooked. I forget his name. Stellan Skarsgård, one of the greatest actors ever of all time, that doesn't get enough recognition, in my opinion, even though he's still highly decorated and recognized.
Oh yeah, he plays like the politician or the minister or whatever on there.
You'll give me a couple minutes. There's gunshots at my apartment.
Yeah, go shoot it back.
Give him hell, Chris.
Speaking of Skarsgård, there's what's the guy who's not related to the Skarsgård, but he has a similar name. Peter Sarsgaard.
Yeah.
He's in it's like a dramatized documentary, but it also has like traditional interview elements and documents and all that kind of stuff. Called Wormwood. Have you watched that?
I've not. I've heard of it though.
It's, dude, like, it's the quintessential how fucked up was the federal government, specifically the CIA, of course, during the Cold War. And it's like a guy who works for the CIA, dude with a family, whatever, and he like helps develop these chemical weapons and stuff. And then they brought him to some place in Europe where it was like a black site where they were like torturing Soviet prisoners. And they were like, hey, all that stuff you make in a lab? Look, it's going to make this guy go to hell for 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
He goes home and he's like, oh, I hate myself. Why did I do this? I want to leave. But then, of course, like he can't just quit the CIA. Like he knows too much, whatever. And his family is like, oh, well, he just suddenly stopped being a happy guy and like became depressed. And then the whole documentary specifically is about his suicide, apparent suicide, after a series of like shady events involving the feds. And they drugged him with acid multiple times to try to like, it's MK Ultra, where it's like,
yeah,
they thought they could brainwash people with acid and blah blah. Then they tried to do it to him to get him to stay or whatever. And he like ends up flying out of like a window, a high window in a hotel. And then it's all about the mystery of, was it a suicide or was he murdered by the spook that was in the room with him, guy who worked with him. But the cool thing is the documentary filmmaker kind of like talks to mostly the guy's son, and so you kind of get a more
Understand what?
I guess a more intimate or inside look into this. It's like it's Black Ops, secret CIA, Fed stuff, but then you actually hear from the dude's family, which I feel is pretty rare.
What is the documentary that was about that dude in the Mormon church that just forged a bunch of letters?
I think it's called Murder Among the Mormons. You talking about the guy who like he blows some shit up?
Yeah, he blows something up, and he also like he did something else crazy, like forged a bunch of letters from the president of the church and like heavily advanced Mormonism, like made it stronger. But all through lies.
He was like forging like letters from Joseph Smith or Brigham Young.
Some
I'm pretty
big
sure.
name, yeah.
I feel like there's been a lot of pretty solid documentaries lately. I kind of hate. I watch them a lot. I love them, but I kind of hate certain things about documentaries, like the editing. Like you can tell sometimes when they took lines of speech and cut them up and rearranged them to say something that is probably either not what the person said originally or just for effect, and therefore losing like the original like communication.
That shit happens a lot in crime documentaries. It'll be like some woman talking. It's like, he was 53 years old when he came home and he, I guess, saw us laying on the couch and grabbed his gun. It's just terrible.
Also, it'll be like, obviously, this person didn't say this in this way, in this tonation. Like, yeah, so then we just stopped hearing from her. And it was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And it cuts to some dramatic music. But it's like, wait, why? They just feel the need to add an interjection there from some other.
Yeah.
She was probably saying, it was like, what the heck about like a time they went to McDonald's, but they're just cut that and put it over here for dramatic effect.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel called Explore With Us that does really great like short crime documentaries, and what I like so much about that channel is they only show interrogation footage.
Yeah, I've seen some of
use
those.
the actual like interrogation audio, and then every once in a while some guy will jump in and be like, this crime was horrific, and then it is the guy like actually fessing up to the detectives about what he did, so you get to hear what actually happened, like from the cops or from the killer. It's kind of cool. Hello, Chris, did you give them hell?
No, I do not get involved.
What was going on?
No clue. Bree was like cleaning up in the living room and heard gunshots in the apartment complex. So
Epic.
I did a little peek outside, see if I could see any movement, see what was going on.
Yeah.
Women died tonight.
Start just wild firing a shotgun into the parking lot. That's usually how I go about it.
Chris, you need to make a documentary about this.
I have enough instances.
Wow.
In the less than a year I've been here of gunshots occurring in this apartment complex and fatal shootings occurring in this apartment complex that
Golly.
I could make a documentary.
Do you live in Houston?
That's Louisiana, my man.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
It's just how Louisiana gonna be.
Well, it wasn't like this when we moved in. Like, for the first couple of months, it was super quiet. No one was really doing anything. And then, like, into the summer hit, and, like, all the vacant spots filled up. And if this is a fatal shooting, that will be 3 fatal shootings in the past 3.5 months.
You know, that's not actually like what it is. The spaces getting filled up is not what makes people kill each other. It's specifically in the state of Louisiana, the Saints losing football games.
Yeah, which happens quite a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For all those innocents out there.
Is the football season still occurring? Is that a thing? Or people still football?
Not for the Saints. But they had a bad season, so you're going to have to hang on until next August before the killings stop.
Yeah, and then they're going to start again.
Yep.
Late August was when the first instance occurred, but it was a robbery.
Well, that's when the Saints lost their first game.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, at the beginning of the Saints season, the Saints were 2-0, and there was not a murder in New Orleans for 17 days.
That's insane, actually. That is a crazy statistic.
Yep. And then the night they lost, it looked like fucking Verdansk over there, man. It was bad.
What if that recent psycho loony, Mohammed and terrorist attack was actually
Saints related.
Saints inspired.
Oh man.
He had a Saints football flag.
I saw something the other day. It was a picture of that guy that did that, and it said his name like Dim Jabbar or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the first comment was, "Oh hell nah, that needle from Dune killed people." Because the needle in Dune was called the Gom Jabbar.
Yeah.
But
Man.
my top documentary, my number one recommendation right now in this very moment. Actually, I just thought of a better one. It would be in reality, it would be They Shall Not Grow Old, just because I love Peter Jackson and I love World War One, and that restored footage is insane. That colored footage goes crazy. And there's no, like you were talking about, Michael, there's no like weird cut up dumb bullshit in that. It's just like recordings from the 70s of these old ass fucking bastards just telling war stories. So there's no like overarching like point to the documentary. It's just like sitting there watching footage and then hearing stories of what's going on, but you still like learn something from it and learn how shit it was.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with the highest grossing documentary of the decade, which is Am I Racist by Matt Walsh.
Is it really the highest?
Yeah, highest grossing of the decade.
That's awesome.
And I do actually have reasons for this other than just being a right-wing extremist.
It's so good though.
Yeah, it's very good. It's funny as fuck. It is absolutely brutal with how it rips apart just idiocy. And it has Matt Walsh, and he's just fucking great. I love Matt
He's kind of
Walsh.
cute too.
Yeah, he's a little cutie.
I love the part where he like wheels his racist uncle in on the fucking...
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, which of you wants to abuse my uncle?
And that ugly lesbian
not
is like,
seen it.
fuck you. I hate
I
you.
saw it in theaters, dude. Did you watch it in theaters, Thomas?
Yeah, I did.
Everyone in there was cackling. And it was like a pretty diverse audience.
Yeah.
But what is the premise of this documentary?
All right, so Matt Walsh is a conservative commentator, journalist. He hosts a talk show. And what started off for him as kind of like, oh, I disagree with liberals, so I'm going to troll them, actually turned into him just wanting to hardcore expose the lunacy behind like left-leaning ideology and everything. And a big one with that, his two big things were like racism and child abuse through like sex change surgeries and stuff like that. So he's made two documentaries. One is called What is a Woman? The one that came out last year is called Am I Racist? And he basically goes undercover, gets like DEI certified, becomes a diversity, equity, and inclusion like teacher and hosts his own class, totally, completely for the purpose of exposing the people that are doing DEI.
Yeah. And it's like Borat style, Chris, where like the people don't know that, you know, he's like covert.
Yeah. And there's a scene where he gets a lady to pay reparations to his black producer.
It's not just any lady though.
It's Robin DiAngelo. She wrote the book White Fragility that got like huge whenever George Floyd died and everything. And he's somehow a very prominent figure in, you know, right-wing media, was able to put on a wig and like a gay jacket and completely fooled her. She had no fucking clue who he was. And she was like, and he was like, so Robin, you're an expert on this DEI stuff. Is it okay if I bring over my black producer Ben and you just show me like how you would approach a conversation with him? And she's like, hello Ben, it's nice to meet you. I recognize and apologize for all the struggles you've been through because of my people and all the harm that even just my presence can cause you just by me being here and talking to you.
I love you.
And Ben, the producer, is like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, yeah, Matt, did you want to say anything to Ben? And he's like, oh yeah, here's $10. Sorry. And she's just like, what the fuck? What was that? That was weird. And he's like, why? I'm not waiting on a system to catch up. I'm doing the work myself. And she's just like, oh, well, I think I have some cash on me. If I could, I'll go get my purse and I'll pay. And the fucking producer gets like $50 out of it or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And he kept it too.
And he stages like a movement to turn the George Washington Monument into the George Floyd Monument, and it'll be something like 15% larger. They'll paint it black, and he gets like a shitload of people to sign this petition to actually change it. It just throws it in the garbage and walks away. But yeah, it's so fucking good. And the weirdest thing about it to me was seeing that like all of these people, like the two students at whatever university that made a big whoop about this guy with a Police Lives Matter sticker on his laptop, and Robin DiAngelo, and this woman who her kid was ignored by Elmo, and all these like supposedly racist stories that you've heard in the news. He went to go get an interview with all of them, and DEI is just a whole calling shit racist is a business, dude.
It is.
It is an absolute institution.
Looks like BLM, like they made so much money.
They made so much money, and he puts the amount that he had to pay to get all of these interviews like up on the screen whenever they interview somebody. It's like Robin DiAngelo, $5,000 for 1 hour of time. This woman who Elmo ignored the kid of, $10,000 interview. This bitch ass student from Washington or whatever, $16,000. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's also like it just also just gives a really, really good message. Like so much shit is called racist nowadays that it's almost genuinely to a point of where people will honestly just kind of admit it. Like, you don't have to wonder if somebody's racist just by looking at them, and you certainly shouldn't call them racist just because you have looked at them. You calling them racist by looking at the color of their skin is just as racist as what you claim they're doing to you. And honestly, if you don't think you're a racist, then you're probably not.
I'm surprised, I'm just surprised so many theaters showed it. Like, I'm sure in some big cities there was, some art house theater that was like, we're not going to show that shit on principle. But every theater around here was showing it.
Yeah. Hey,
so it had to have been,
the South.
But if nothing else, at least, commercially viable product.
Yeah.
Which it obviously was. Which, that's good news.
And if I were to equate am I racist to a meaty dish, I'm going with a big old heaping bucket of fried chicken.
10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
Why chicken, huh?
No reason.
Dude, we had fried pork nuggets for dinner.
That shit sounds good.
It was pretty good. But that fried pork nuggets and fried asparagus.
Man, we was talking about asparagus a little while ago, wasn't we, Chris?
Yeah, I had some asparagus for dinner as well.
We both gonna be pissing some weird smelling piss.
Yes.
Man, I had white bean soup.
Mm.
Ooh.
What are you, some kind of peasant?
See, I was actually going to bring this up. I was hoping you would make a comment about it. So, you know, as soon as mankind hit that point of like, we're civilized now, you know, as soon as we created the indoors and farming and air conditioning and TVs and all of that.
Thing.
Yeah, we gotta advance in our time and civilize that thing. But as soon as we did that, there was no reason to go back to an uncivilized lifestyle, you know? We're just gonna keep being civilized because being civilized is the way to go. I consider soup an uncivilized time food.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of soups. The only soup I want is that clear soup they give you at a hibachi restaurant with them mushrooms in it. That's
You know
the
how I
only
feel
kind of
about
soup
soup,
I want.
Thomas.
Yeah, I
brother.
know how you feel about soup, and I'm here to
I'm a
tell you
soup
you're
eater.
wrong.
Look, bro, it's so efficient.
It's so peasant.
It is. You're right.
Michael, I remember when you made borscht that day, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I could have came.
You
That
remember?
was some good borscht, and I'm not saying I'm anti the flavors that soup brings. Hell, I was at
You're against the texture rather than the flavor.
no,
It's
not at
always
all.
just like, why are we boiling shit in broth?
just
Not-
against the sociological implications.
Yeah, I'm against
Of the
the
soup.
message that soup brings. I like the texture. We were at Nobu a few weeks ago. I ate the miso soup. It was genuinely fucking amazing. But yeah, I like the flavor of some soups. I like the texture of some soups. I don't like what soup stands for. I'm against it. Seems uncivilized and cavemanish.
Y'all ever put peanuts in your Coke?
Nope.
Yes.
It's not bad. It's okay.
Whip. Ugh.
It's good. It's nothing like insanely special like I thought it was going to be when everyone was talking about it.
I mean, if it was like 1947 and I was just hanging out in South Mississippi and that was the only pleasant thing.
Couldn't afford ice, so you put peanuts in there.
Yeah, exactly. A warm Coke, some peanuts, and
Candy bars and beer. That was the way to go.
yeah.
Yeah. But I never even heard about peanuts and Coke from my grandparents. I only heard about it from other people telling them that their grandparents told them about it.